So Matt has decided he wanted a video all about himself. Him, and him. Marathon training and his race goals and other bits and pieces. And I'm just sat here waiting for him. Like an empty.
That's not the intro we talked about. That is not the intro we talked about. Yes, this is my own narcissistic press conference, but I just thought it'd be interesting to share my training and my thoughts about the marathon. I know I'd be interested to watch other people talk about their marathon prep and stuff like that. So
yeah, so that's the whole point, is to open up about your training, about what you're going to do on race day, everything leading up to the marathon. Hopefully it'll help some of you. So should we get started?
yeah, I don't know what the questions are, so hopefully it'll be helpful. If people have put questions they're interested in, then I'll try my best to answer them.
Ooh, there's lots of questions. Lots of questions. I've had to write them in a book because I'm no Louis Theroux.
I got you that book.
You did get me this book.
But you don't remember what that means.
No, what does it mean?
Todo es posible si lo intentas. My Spanish accent is awful. Something like anything is possible or something like that.
So you can't even remember what it means?
No, I can't remember.
Okay, so where do we start then? Marathon training. How's your training gone?
Well, should we start with... Should I do my own little intro? Maybe we should start with... so I started running in 2015. Started running to help with mental health. It was amazing. I've kept with it, got a bit better. Decided to do a marathon in 2016. Ran 2 hours 29.
For a first marathon?
For my first marathon, which is still my PB. I've had issues like cramps, stitches in marathons. Things have gone wrong. Felt great shape this year. Got a stress fracture, so haven't run an A-race marathon since. But now I've trained and tried to get myself into shape for Frankfurt.
Okay, and obviously you've shared a lot about your stress fracture and your comeback from the stress fracture. So starting right from then, how do you think it's gone? How did you come back from the stress fracture?
Initially, really slowly,
Yeah.
with just minute running, minute walking on grass, really soft surface, literally doing 10 minutes of running, broken up with walking. But then I got a bit overexcited and...
Did a load of marathons.
Yeah, did a load of marathons. When you put it like that, I did do a load of marathons. After I realised that I could do an hour of running without... Well, there was no pain when I came back. I was overly cautious when I came back. I gave it more weeks than you would normally give it, and I didn't feel any pain whatsoever, so I wasn't really worried.
Yeah, you were cautious.
I was cautious, and I didn't do any sessions or any intensity for a long time.
No.
Because that's what scared me.
And there has been questions sent in about how you coped mentally with being off with the stress fracture.
Well, that's the thing. I use running primarily for my mental health, so it was really difficult. I tried to replace running with other things that were going to help, so I say cross-training. I didn't do enough cross-training, really, and I did struggle, but I tried to stay positive, knowing that I would be coming back, and just finding different outlets that could help me mentally to get through it.
Yeah, and since coming back, so starting your marathon training, how did your marathon training start? When did it start?
There's no start date. There was no this is my long plan. But as soon as London Marathon was done, basically, I paced Chris to a PB in London Marathon.
You bullied Chris?
I bullied Chris to a PB, yeah. I shouted at Chris a lot. And some of the crowd heard some of the words I was using, and that wasn't the plan.
No.
But yeah, after London Marathon, my goal is always the marathon. That's my favourite distance. That's the distance I love. So straight away I was thinking about what my next marathon would be, and start training for it, basically. Not in your usual way of upping the miles straight away, but I knew that I was going to try and get the long runs back into my routine and slowly progress the distance of the long runs, but also the intensity.
So talking of long runs, there's been some questions about long runs.
Yeah.
What types of long runs that you've done and the benefits of different long runs. Can you explain what you've done?
For me, I think it's really important to gradually build up the distance in a long run, but doing that at an easy pace. So if you can work your way up. Well, it depends on the standard of run you are at the time, what is long for you. But stage started at 10, 12, 14, right up to 20 for me. Once I'm up to 20 and feel comfortable, not comfortable, but satisfied that I can run 20 miles at an easy pace without it destroying me, that's when I like to add the intensity in. So I almost then make a long run a session. In this marathon block, the long run has been everything to me. It's been my main session for every single week. As soon as I felt comfortable running long, that's when every long run became a session for me.
And would you say the long run is your bread and butter?
Absolutely. I'm running a marathon. I can go down the track and knock out 400s. Great, it's going to get me a bit fitter, but it's not going to help me significantly in the marathon. What I need to be able to do is both physically and mentally endure 26 miles. And if I'm not running long at any intensity, then I'm going to struggle on the day.
So running above 20 miles in your long runs, how do you feel about that? Because some plans go up to 16 miles on their long runs, 18 miles. How do you feel about those?
I've seen some plans. The magic way to do it now is to only run 9 miles long run ever. I just think it's ridiculous. I know people have tried that, and I know the results. For me, there isn't this a magic number, or you have to run 20 miles, or you have to run 22 miles. It's completely personal, because if you're a 5-hour marathoner and you've got to go out and do 4 hours long run, that does take a lot out of you. And if you then can't train very much for the rest of the week because you're still recovering from that long run, then it doesn't make sense to be doing that distance all the time. But if you're a 3-hour marathoner and 20 miles is, I don't know, 2.5 hours or whatever, then you can go out and do that and recover pretty well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not this magic number, I've got to hit 20 miles. For me, 20 miles is where I'd like most people to hit, because you've still got another 6 miles on race days. You're still not near the distance you're going.
Yeah.
I've been up to 23 this time. Previous blocks I've gone beyond, I've done 28. But I'm satisfied with the 23 this time.
Do you think that makes a difference come race day, the final 10k, when we all start to struggle? Do you think it makes a difference going beyond the normal, going above 20 miles?
I like to do a run where I'm running for as long as my goal time.
Yeah.
So I'm not running perhaps 26 miles, but I'm running for 2 hours and 24 minutes. So I know that I've been out there running for that time. The thing is with the marathon, it's all about how well you use your fuel, how well you run, basically the proportions that you're burning off fat and glycogen. So depending on the proportions and the intensity of running, that's how you're going to get to the end. It doesn't really, yeah. I don't know what I was saying. I lost my train of thought completely.
Okay, so you like to run to the end, not crawl on your hands and knees like somebody like me. Okay then, so...
Or stop 800 metres out and say I'm done.
I stopped once in a marathon, 800 metres out. It was a low point.
I'm finished. I'm not going any further. I'm like, and I was running with it. The finish line is just there. No, I'm done. But you did finish. So.
I probably would have stopped if I'd been on my own. Okay, so aside from the long run, what other sessions have you been doing? What's a key session for you?
Okay, so this block I've done a little differently to how I'd normally do it. Every week, the long run as a session, my key session, but I've done a lot of racing.
Yes, you have.
A lot of racing. I haven't actually worked it pretty much every weekend. It's a very actually old-fashioned thing to do. There's many runners through the 70s and 80s who would race every weekend, and they wouldn't taper down for these races or see them as important races in their block, but it was just a great way to go and run fast in a competitive environment, enjoy your running, and I think that's the key for me. I've really enjoyed racing. I haven't freshened up for these races, and yet I've still PB'd, so I'm really happy with that. But I've done different distance races, and I think the quality of running I've done in those is much better than anything I would have done on my own.
But would you recommend that to, say, your clients? Because if I raced every weekend in a marathon training block, I'd end up broken. Because I have no self-control, call it what you like, but I would break. I've broken before from doing too many races during a marathon training block.
I wouldn't necessarily advise, the best way to train for a marathon is to race every weekend. I would much prefer to be doing sessions in a group would be the best, but even on my own. This time round, I've ended up doing a lot of racing. But you can do what I did in those races in a session. You can do your tempo runs, you can do your threshold runs.
So running in a group?
Yeah.
Joining a running club while you're marathon training? Good idea?
Tricky one, because as I've experienced myself, you can be running a marathon, whereas someone else can be training for 3k or 5k, and they're doing 400 meter reps on the track, and you need to be doing a 3 mile tempo, then 5 times 800 meters, and then a 3 mile tempo. Completely different sessions. If you can find people of a similar standard to you that are also training for not necessarily the same event, but the same distance, then that can be really helpful.
So more beneficial?
Massively.
Okay. What's your favourite type of cheese?
Brie.
Brie or brie?
Brie or camembert, they're so close, but...
They're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
What about hard cheese?
Hard cheese?
Don't say cheddar.
I was going to say cheddar, but just because I eat a lot of cheddar.
You eat a lot of cheddar.
And then I was going to try and like manchego or something, I don't know.
You don't know any other hard cheeses?
No. I've eaten them before I've seen the wrapper, so...
Wow, I can well believe that. Talking of cheese, what about nutrition? What's your nutrition been like?
What, in the training?
Training block first.
Not great.
No. I can vouch for that.
Not great, but not horrendous. I very much feel like I've fueled the sessions. When I knew I had a big long run session, then the next day I was making sure I was getting carbs in. I haven't probably eaten enough fruit and veg, but I've had some. My nutrition isn't great, but I have focused. When I got injured, I ballooned up to, from 11 stone, which is my normal weight, up to beyond 12 and a half. So this is completely relative. So I'm 5'9", and I was just a stone and a half, or a stone and a bit heavier than I normally was.
Your jeans got tight.
Yeah, my jeans did get tight.
You almost took my eye out with the shirt button.
Yeah, none of my shirts fit. So I've gradually brought my weight down, but not by counting calories or even like restricting treats or anything, just by trying to eat decent-ish meals and by doing the training. But I have been wary of bringing that weight back down to where I feel comfortable.
Okay, so you've not really calorie counted. You like your carbs in training?
I eat a lot of carbs, yeah.
So a lot of people are interested in what you are doing this week. So this week, Matt is doing a carb depletion. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I can't get my head around this. So do you want to explain it?
Okay. It's a difficult one. I don't know where to start really, because I'll explain what it is, and then I'll explain why I wouldn't advise it. So yes, I'm doing it, but I wouldn't advise it to anyone I'm coaching or anyone watching this, really.
No.
So there's mixed science on it, and conflicting evidence has come out on whether it even works. But so that's where I'll start. So there's conflicting evidence whether it works. What it is, for me, it's 3 to 4 days of very, very, very limited carbs, and still running, and still a mini session in there. And what that does is it depletes the glycogen stores throughout your body. And glycogen is the fuel you run on. The main fuel you run on, especially when you increase the intensity. Okay? Once it's depleted and you start the carb load, some studies say your body, it almost feels like, oh my god, I need those carbs, where's my glycogen? And then it stores more. So you store more glycogen than you would normally store if you were just carb loaded without depleting first. I've done it both ways. I've depleted and I've not depleted, and obviously carb loaded at the end. And I've run my best marathons the times I've depleted. Whether I'm storing more glycogen, I don't know. This is why I do it. I do it because in those 3 or 4 days, they're horrendous, and I get headaches and I feel grouchy and running feels bad.
Slightly cranky.
But I lose weight, I feel lean, and then when I carb load, then I go back to my normal weight.
Mhm.
So if I just didn't, well, from previous times, when I don't deplete first and then carb load, I always end up marathon day feeling a lot heavier. Glycogen, when you store, when you store a gram of glycogen, you store 2 grams of water with that glycogen. So when I carb load at the end of the deplete, I put all the weight on anyway. I'll be back to my normal weight. But I'm just confident, I'm full of glycogen, I'm ready to go. But I wouldn't advise it. One, I feel like you're more susceptible at getting ill when you do it. 2, it knocks your confidence because every run is really tough. And when you most want confidence is in the final week before a marathon. But I negate that by the fact that I get confidence knowing that I've done it before, it's worked before, and I've run my best marathons off doing it. So whether it's scientifically proven or unproven, it doesn't matter to me because I know myself I get confidence from it. I just don't think many others would get confidence from it. I think it would knock your confidence and make you feel awful going into your carb load.
It seems like quite an extreme way to approach it.
Yeah, it's an extreme way of doing it. I don't think it's necessary. I've run plenty of marathons not doing it. But I also, one other thing, I also like, this is going to sound weird, I wish I knew the Kipchoge quote off by heart actually. I also like how disciplined you have to be. I'm not very disciplined normally with my food, but for 3 or 4 days before, with a week to go for a marathon, I become super disciplined. And that makes me feel strong mentally and physically, the fact that I can be disciplined. And what did Kipchoge say? If you can discipline the mind, you're free or something. It was a beautiful quote anyway.
You did that no justice.
Yeah. No justice at all. But anyway, it's for those different factors are the reasons that I do it. I like the discipline. It makes me feel like the mental strength that I'm using to not eat all my favourite carbs will be the same mental strength that I'm using on the day.
Yeah, okay. So just to clarify then, it's not about losing weight as such. It's about getting better energy from your carbs.
It's about storing more glycogen. The science is I want to store more glycogen. One of the reasons I do it is to lose weight and then to put it back on with the glycogen. And another reason I do it is because I like showing that I have discipline and I have mental strength so close to the marathon, and I can't do that in sessions because there aren't any big sessions left. So this is a way of building confidence for me personally, but I think it would knock confidence in many other people.
And let's talk about weight,
Yeah.
because at the moment you are really light.
Weight's a really controversial issue and a very difficult issue to talk about, especially when people may watch this, and I don't want people to focus on weight. I never tell any of my clients to focus on weight. It's a very personal thing and it's very relative to everyone.
You're a believer though of racing weight, of being as light as you can for race day. I
train at my normal weight pretty much all year round, and through most races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, I'm the same weight. I'm 11 something, between 11 and 11.4 pretty much. Which isn't very light for compared with many of the other runners running the same times as me. But that doesn't bother me. That's what weight I'm comfortable with. And I very rarely get ill. I can't remember the last time I was ill. Apart from that injury last year, I've very rarely, that was the only injury I've ever had really. So yeah, I train at my training weight. But for an A-goal marathon, which I haven't had many of, I try and gradually bring my weight down. So that 11 to 11.4 has gone to like 10, 13, 10, 12. And then this final like carb deplete has taken that a bit lower. But then when I take on the carbs again, as I said, glycogen 1 gram, 2 grams of water with that, I'll be back up to 11, I assume. But by the end of the marathon, I'll probably be 10, 7, 10, 8.
But just to be completely clear, this isn't sustainable for you, this one.
No, I would never stay at this way. I don't like it. I don't feel good. I don't feel as strong as I normally feel. I don't know. I just feel I just can't wait to get the carbs in and go back up to 11.
I can't wait for you to get the carbs back in. You've been a bit mopey and a bit cranky and...
like, you know, your brain, everything relies on carbs being broken down into sugar and glucose. So even these... there we go. If I answer anything poorly, it's because I'm not on enough carbs right now.
Okay, so before we get to your race day plans, if you saw me on a dating app, would you swipe right or left?
Which way's like?
I think it's right.
I don't know. I can't remember. I've been on dating apps.
Right.
Is that I like, or is that nah?
Well, I hope it's not you like, because you're doing that really
I'd super
regularly.
like.
Oh, you'd super like.
I think that's super like, isn't it?
Would you super like me?
No, because it's too keen.
Oh.
I don't think I've ever super liked anyone.
Well, that's
Super-
nice to know.
I think if you super like, people are like, oh, he's a bit keen.
Stalkerish.
Yeah, who's this guy? I think you can purchase super likes as well. It's like, has this guy purchased super likes? So he's super like. Anyway, I'm not doing that. But yeah, whichever's, yeah, of course I would have. Whichever like is.
You would have.
Swipe right. I don't know. Yes, I would have swiped right.
Should we go on a dating app later, just for some fun? Figure out how to
Stay
use
on the
it.
You'll have to stay in my proximity and hope you pop up.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about race day. You've mentioned a little bit about your time.
Yeah.
What is the goal?
What's the goal? The goal is 2 hours and 24 minutes, which is 5-minute PB.
Okay. And is that a goal? Have you got a B and a C, or is there just one goal?
Okay, so the goal is 2 hours 24 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I'm tricking myself. Maybe I'm just... I don't know why I'm growing in confidence. I feel awful. But I kind of feel there's a 222 or 223 in me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just mad optimism. And as soon as I go running, I'm like, nah, actually, what am I talking about? 5:30 pace, which is 2 hours 24.
You've questioned it a lot.
Yeah, 2 hours 24, 5:30 pace feels very difficult. But then I remember, this is the thing I find difficult to get across to people. My first marathon, 2 hours 29, 5:40 pace. I didn't do anything near that pace for a long run. The closest I got in training was 6 minutes per mile as an average for the whole run. Maybe there'll be blocks of 5:40 in there, but the whole long run would average at 6.
Yeah.
So even then I was like, how the hell am I going to run 2 hours and 29 minutes when I haven't been averaging that pace for even 20 miles? But race day does magical things. Tapering does incredible things. The carb load, the adrenaline, the crowds. I'm a huge believer in drafting. I am the most selfish runner when it comes to a marathon. If there's a chance for me to tuck in and get out of the wind, I'll be there. Later on, I'll try, I'll do a bit of work, but early on, I just want to fall asleep for the first 13 miles.
You'd have liked a Kipchoge setup then?
Yeah, that'd have been nice.
Yeah.
But that's why I choose the big races, the fast races, so that there are people running at my pace, hopefully a group running at the pace I want to be running, so I can sit at the back of that group, out of the wind, using less energy for the same pace, which hopefully then leaves me a little at the end to get the job done.
Is that something you'd recommend to kind of Joe Bloggs standard runner drafting, tucking in behind somebody?
Massively. I think the potential to draft, the further back you go in the field, is even better. There's more and more people to run behind. You don't have to stalk someone, of course, but if there's a group going at your super light. If there's a group running at the pace you want to be running, then tuck in behind them. Take your turn on the front, but rotate it and tuck in behind, get out of the wind. You're using less energy. These are the things that make you run faster on race day: the adrenaline, the taper, the carb load, but also the drafting.
So the goal is 224, possibly.
So the goal is 224, but I think, especially in the marathon, there's room for manoeuvre.
So how are you going to know on race day what you go for?
the goal is 2 hours 24.
Yep.
And in a marathon, if you go out too hard, there's a good chance you'll regret it. And
Blow up?
Massively, and I've done it before. And I'm not willing to risk that 2 hour 24 by going out hard. Unless I feel even better than I ever have, and there's an amazing group. There has to be an amazing group. The only way I'm going out faster than 2 hour 24 is if there's such a great group that I feel like the benefit of sitting at the back of that group and drafting is bigger than the potential disaster of going that pace, and bigger than the benefit of dropping off and going a bit slower.
Okay.
So if there's a group going at maybe 2:22, I'll go with it.
You go with it from the start.
If there's no group anywhere in that range, I'm going at my pace, which is 2 hours 24. Go through half in 1:12.
Try and keep on.
Yeah, I would love a negative split marathon.
I had a good question about negative splits actually.
So push on at 1:12. halfway.
Right, where is it? Okay, so running at a steady pace or negative splitting, is that something that comes with time with running, or does it come? So is it, can you work on that, or is it something that
For a marathon?
For a marathon, for any race, or is it something that develops over time as you become a more experienced runner?
It's having a pacing strategy and sticking to it. If you know what shape you're in, which is very difficult to know without a lot of experience, if you know what shape you're in, you can pace something so that you are not quite at your limit, but so close to your limit, and then that second half you push on and go beyond your limit and hopefully crawl over the line with a negative split.
Because you've had some good races, haven't you? You said you've PB'd 10k, you've PB'd half marathon in this training block.
Yeah.
I wanted to unleash him at Parkrun for a 5k, but we didn't get round to it, did we?
No,
What do you think your 5k time would be at the moment?
I haven't done any 5k specific work. I haven't run at that pace, but I am fit. I think I'd PB. I think I'd get close to 15 flat, to be honest.
Yeah. We'll have to wind you up and let you loose after the marathon when you've recovered.
Oh, I'm having a month of eating and drinking. Yeah.
All the
Haribo.
fantastic.
Yeah. I'm going straight on the Haribo.
He's really been missing sweets.
Yeah. Some people crave a pint. I would like a pint of IPA, but fizzy sweets for me. That's what I need.
But I think what I was saying about your PBs is obviously you PB'd 10k and half marathon, but the first time you broke the 32 in the 10k.
Yeah.
You negative split that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And it looked like a dream on paper.
Yeah, and it was a dream race.
Yeah.
It was a dream race because I went out at 32 pace. I drafted. I felt great. That group then didn't continue at 32 pace, so I went past them. But I kept at that pace and then tried to push on.
Yeah.
And I was able to push on. And the fact that I didn't go off hard and put myself in the red zone straight away meant that it was a much more enjoyable race for me.
Yeah.
It was a much more positive experience, passing people the whole way. I don't think anyone overtook me after obviously the mad rush at the beginning, but after that I think the whole time I was just picking people off.
Yeah.
And that's just a great way to run. And knowing, I've still got a little bit here to push on is a great feeling to have. And I would love to have that in the marathon on Sunday.
So at what point would you kick on?
Again,
because surely you've got to time it, so it's not too early, it's not too late.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about A, B, C goals. My goal is 2 hours 24.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if I felt great at halfway and could build a little bit, push it a little bit, and bring it closer to that 2 hour 22, 2 hour 23. Last 6, I forget the watch then, I'm just going all in. Just everything. Just going to pick someone up the road, try and catch that runner. If there's no runner, get to that lamppost running well. Get to that pillar running well.
Break it down.
Past that sign going well. Last 6 is just all in.
Yeah.
But the dream would be, I want to fall asleep. I want to fall asleep for 13 miles. I don't want to even think about it. I want it to feel great. I want to be sitting in the back of a pack and just coast along without even being in the race.
Yeah.
At 13, it'd be nice to be feeling good enough to increase the pace, but nothing crazy. And then at 20, it's just all in.
Okay. Sounds good.
See what that gets me.
Right, let's do some quick fire ones. Shall we?
Yeah, but they make me nervous.
Da, da, da.
I'm gonna need my cough.
Okay then. Pants or no pants?
Generally, or
It's a genuine question.
I don't know why I said genuinely. It's the same answer for either. Definitely pants.
But you like a bit of support when you're running.
Yeah. I know some of these shorts have linings, but there's not enough support.
Okay, how do you feel about meconium?
About who?
Meconium.
Meconium.
Yeah.
Is it a person or a drug?
It's a baby's first poo, really.
It's a baby's what?
First poo.
First poo.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Are you?
Yeah.
He's excited for the meconium poo.
It sounds like a chemical.
It pretty much is.
IUM.
It's vile.
Normally means a chemical.
Oh.
A metal, sounds like.
I don't think it's metal.
No, I'm not saying it is metal. I'm just saying IUM is normally the ending of metal chemical.
Okay, right, let's have another. Okay, quickly then. Somebody's asked about LIRF courses and becoming a running coach.
Yeah.
Any advice there?
Just sign up and do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Get it done.
No, I'm not going to slate it. Yeah, just sign up and do it.
Sign up and do it.
What I would say is,
Uh-oh, he's off.
what I would say is, especially the LIRF course, is very basic. It's so basic. It's a one-day course. You learn very little. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I don't know. For me, if you want to be a running coach, there's a lot of other stuff you should do than the UK athletics courses, because there's a lot to learn, but there's nothing that can replace experience and talking to other coaches and actually coaching people.
Yeah.
And learning from that as well.
Okay, cool. So that's tips on becoming a running coach. When are you doing Ashton Court Park Run?
It's not muddy, is it?
No, it's hilly. You go
I know it's a big hill. I'm looking forward to running down the hill.
It's a bit wet at the top, I think.
Is it?
But it's not muddy,
I'll
is
do it this winter then.
Oh, will you?
Yeah.
Schedule it in around
Yeah.
baby stuff.
I need to train running up hills really, because it's one of my weaknesses. Everyone always overtakes me on the hills.
You've moved to the Forest of Dean though. You should be embracing the hills.
No, I do, but I don't know. I don't know if it's that I'm weak on hills or I'm too cautious on them.
To be fair, Cardiff Half, you were dying on that little mini hill.
Yeah, that was near the end. I don't like to spike my heart rate on a hill because it's very difficult once you've spiked your heart rate to get it back to where it was. So especially in something like a half marathon, I back off on the hills. I let people pass me and then I catch them on the downhills.
Yeah, you drilled that into me. Manchester, actually. He kept saying to me on the hills, just back off. And it worked. It did work.
It does work.
Yeah.
But then for something like a 5K, if you're trying to run fast, you've got to work hard up that hill. There's no backing off.
You won't be able to avoid the hill at Ashton Court. Okay, another question from the same person. You know who you are. Despite being a very successful runner and winning races, you're alright. You know, I wouldn't say you were very successful.
Yeah.
I think you're mediocre.
I wouldn't say
but
very successful, yeah.
you know,
Say pretty
somebody
average.
else is calling
Yeah.
calling you successful. Yeah, you still have half the followers that I do. Why do you think that is?
You do.
Yes. Apparently, I'm not a successful runner.
Because followers don't matter to me.
Huh?
Huh? Because, you know, there's professional runners with half the followers I do. It makes no difference. No, but it makes no difference. Followers means nothing.
Followers do mean nothing.
They mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And that sounds really bad. Not that they mean nothing. Like, I love the running
Everybody
community.
unfollow.
I love the running community. I love the social media running community, especially Instagram. How many followers I have doesn't make much difference to any of that. I just love talking about running, sharing my experiences and following other people's experiences for inspiration for myself.
Marco, I think that was a good question. It made him squirm. Okay, something else I haven't touched upon is race day nutrition and fueling.
Personally, for
Yeah,
me,
for you, what's your plans? Any tips?
yes. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
For me, In the morning, I'm sticking to what I've just been doing for my long runs so far, so that'll either be toast or a bagel. So we're staying in an Airbnb, so it's going to be really easy to go to the shop, get something that I'm used to eating, and it's just going to be white carbs basically, bagel, toast.
Not brown?
No.
Nope.
I don't want slow release on race day. I just want to get it all digested.
Yeah.
I'm one of these peoples with a bit of a funny stomach. Peoples?
Peoples I am.
I'm also Yoda. I'm one of these. I can't speak. I'm one of these people that doesn't have a great stomach. So I like to eat 4 hours before a race, which on race day is an absolute pain because it means you're getting up very, very early. But I just can't. I can't risk it. I want everything digested, done. You know, maybe I'll have a banana 2 hours out or something, or even a gel. But I'd get my breakfast done nice and early, and then, yeah, like I said, maybe a gel or a banana closer to the race.
Yeah.
During the race, then it's a 3/4 gel strategy for me. I always want to take 4, but I really struggle.
You do, yeah.
I really struggle getting the 4th in. I'm in a lucky position to be running as an elite in Frankfurt, so I can put gels and bottles out on the course.
Yeah.
I've tried liquids other than water in training, and they haven't really sat very well. So I think I'm going to stick to water and gels.
And when will you start taking those on, water and gels?
It's important to start early. That's when your heart rate's not as high, you're not working as hard, so it's easier for that to digest and get into where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Into your blood. So I will start 30 minutes in, take my first gel, and then take another one, maybe probably about 30-40 minutes later.
Yeah.
But pretty much every half an hour. But I then struggle to get any more in as I get later into the race. So I might even, if I'm really struggling, I think that some more sugar is going to help. I'm going to put more gels out on the course, so I can always grab one. And I think in my later bottles, I will put a carb drink in there, which I can take on if I'm struggling to take on the gels.
And caffeine? You like caffeine beforehand?
Yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah.
I always take a caffeine shot before every session, before every race.
Yeah.
Some people have told me, oh, why would you take a caffeine shot before a marathon? Surely you want your heart rate to stay nice and low. But it doesn't work like that. Caffeine is a proven and legal performance enhancer. So for me, if you're good with caffeine generally, I would try it out in training because I think it's incredible. I find it's been proven in research to reduce your perception of effort.
Yeah.
So.
But do you find because some people can't handle caffeine?
Yeah, so that's
it
why.
upsets their stomach.
That's why you need to try it in training.
You've obviously had stomach issues before.
Yeah.
You don't find that it.
Well, I've had stomach issues in races before I've even taken a gel on.
Yeah.
I've taken and this was before the days where I was taking caffeine before the race. So I think I don't know if that's nerves or what. But
do you think hydration plays a part in that?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But I was pretty hydrated going into those races.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that bothers me is that I have had issues in marathons which I've trained well and it's not been the nutrition or the hydration. And I've spoken to nutritionists and experts in the field and no one really knows the answers to why I've been getting those issues. But I haven't had it for a long time and I've actually become a lot mentally stronger.
Yeah. And
I think if I do get an issue in Frankfurt, I will just accept it. And my latest way of dealing with pain, I think, will help with that.
Yeah. Your latest way of dealing with pain.
Yeah, my latest statement. So yeah, for me, running fast is uncomfortable, and people call it painful. But I try and see pain as a signal from the brain. But that's all it is. It's not actually slowing my legs. If I focus on just keeping my legs going at that quick cadence, I carry on moving fast, and I can accept that, yeah, this is painful or this is uncomfortable, but it's just a signal. It's just your brain telling you that. Nothing's actually happening. I can still run fast. If you said quickly sprint away from that lion or whatever it might be, or there's the finish, sprint. You could sprint. So I almost accept the pain now.
Yeah.
Because the other way I look at it is the pain of running actually that bad? When you're running, especially at a marathon, half marathon pace, it feels uncomfortable, and your body sends a signal, and your brain says, I want to stop, I want to slow down. When I think about it, I swear being stabbed or burning in a fire or something would be a lot more painful. It's not actually that painful. When I focus on the pain and think about it, I think, well, actually, it's just pretty uncomfortable. It's not painful. I don't know if that will make any sense to people, but I don't think it's actual painful. I think it's uncomfortable running at that speed. And the big battle is in your head, where your brain is constantly saying, slow down, I don't like this, I don't like it, I've had enough, slow down or stop, we're not carrying on this pace. So for me, it's key to just focus on the cadence, focus on moving my legs nice and fast. If it's painful, it's painful. I'll deal with the discomfort. It's 2 hours, it's 2 hours 20, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. What about Kipchoge's method of smiling?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Smiling does help. I really found it helps. I found positive affirmations really, really help. So smiling is just a cue to think positively. And once you start thinking positively, it actually feels a little more comfortable. So I use smiling, but I also use things like, you are strong, you are brave, you've trained for this, you're an absolute beast, you've got this, you're gonna nail today, oh my god, you're gonna absolutely smash this, I can't, and I just keep on telling myself, bigging myself up, and before I know it, I'm like, oh, another mile's gone, and that didn't feel too bad. It really helps. Just every time you dwell on the negative thoughts, it gets hard. When you think, oh my god, this is hard, I'm struggling, I don't know if I'm going to make the next mile, it feels harder and harder and harder. But if you just say, I am an absolute beast, I am so strong, and I'm getting to that mile marker with the perfect pacing, this is the best race of my life, I've done the training, I can't believe how well this is going, yes, this is uncomfortable, but I have more mental strength and more physical strength to get there. And just all those positive affirmations take away some of that discomfort.
Okay. Well, I have some really good tips there. Might take them on board when I'm having your child. Okay, right. All right, let's think of some questions. Who would be your ideal three-legged race partner?
Cut there. I just want to check if this is still filming. We're still filming.
Okay, right, you're going to have to edit that bit.
Okay.
How far in that was?
43 minutes.
43 minutes. Okay, right, so who would be your ultimate three-legged race partner?
So that's one other person.
Yeah. You have two legs tied together. You know how to do a three-legged race, right?
Yeah. In what sense? Am I looking to win this race, or am I looking for some good company?
You want to lose, do you?
I don't want to lose. But
I think there are other things that you can do if you want some company.
I don't know. I overthink things. So when you say who's your ultimate three-legged race partner, I'm thinking, yeah, I could win it, but do I really care about winning a three-legged race? Instead, I could have someone that I've always wanted to meet, someone that I've always
wanted
to spend time with.
I really wanted to spend time with you for a long time. Who's going to do a three-legged race with me?
Well, you're stuck with me now.
We're tied for the whole 100 metres.
Oh dear. I don't even know who that would be, so I don't know why I'm dwelling on it. I don't know. You.
Me. You know I've got no coordination.
Yeah, it'll be fun with you.
Yeah, wow, it'd be something.
Yeah.
Okay, who would you most...
I feel like I've thrown that answer out like, oh, you again.
Better have. Who would be somebody that you'd love to race against, say over 5k?
Well, you could say someone fast, but what's the point? They're just going to shoot off and you never see them. I'd much rather...
Me again?
not
15 minutes later, still waiting?
No, not you. Someone of a better standard than me,
Mhm.
but only by a little bit, so that I could do my best to hang on. And
You really don't want to give out names, do you?
who do I want to race over 5k?
Yeah.
Ben Parks.
Ben Parks. You like to race because you're both racing Frankfurt.
Yeah, we're both racing Frankfurt.
Okay.
So Ben Parks, because he's a similar standard to me.
Yeah.
So I quite like that rivalry.
Yeah. How do you feel about friendly rivalries? Do you think they're good?
Yeah. I love the supportive community.
Yeah.
I love how supportive everyone is. I really love it, and I find it helps me so much, and hopefully other people, you know, supporting each other on Instagram and such, and that park run helps others. But I do miss rivalries.
Mhm.
Everyone's so nice, and that's great, but I do like a bit of competition, a bit of a rivalry.
Yeah.
So I make up rivalries in my head. They're not real rivalries because the other person doesn't know about them. And
No.
I've done this ever
Poor
since.
Fred.
Poor Fred.
When you're out on the trials.
I've done this since I started running. So I always just choose people of a similar standard or slightly better than me, and people that I race against. So if they're there at a race, I'm like, right, I'm going to beat you. And I actually want them to run really well, because that means I'm going to run really well. And I want everyone to run well, but I like the rivalries. And I'd like a bit more trash talk, a bit more, I don't know. There's a lot of sports where they have all this, I don't know, banter
Boxing?
back and forth. Yeah, boxing. You know, the press conference,
I
the
could see you as
weigh-in.
a Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury. But yeah, so I do like that. So for me, I choose people, and it motivates me. It spurs me up, and I like it. And I don't get angry, but I don't know. It keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does keep it interesting. Keeps you motivated. So do you think you're going to do it?
What, 2 hours 24?
Mhm.
Yeah, I do. I honestly believe that I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I think I've been in 2 hour 24 shape before, but I think I'm in better shape than I've ever been in. This time, I've prepared really well. I'm confident, and I'm going to go through in 112 and kick on.
It's exciting, isn't it? Because you've had a decent training block.
It's so exciting. There's so few
You're
times.
here in one piece.
Well, that's the thing. With this training, I've done it slightly different. Back in December, January, when I got injured, I was knocking out 100-mile weeks, and I was in great shape. And this time, I've backed off the mileage a little bit, because I wanted to make sure that I got to that start line injury-free. And I've done that. I'm not injured. There's a couple of days, a couple of jogs left. I've changed my approach slightly, and it's given me the confidence to go back up to higher mileage in the future. But right now, I just wanted to bank a solid marathon time, which I think I'm due.
Yeah.
I think I'm due, and I think I deserve, which may sound arrogant, and I hope it doesn't. But I've trained hard for a number of marathons, and they haven't gone my way. And it upsets me that my fastest marathon isn't my first marathon. I ran that time, I was like, wow, think how fast you could go in the future. You've only been running for a year. And to not have broken that time does frustrate me.
Yeah.
But there's always another race, and Frankfurt is that race coming up.
Okay. And how are you going to celebrate? What's the plan after the marathon?
Loads and loads of sweets.
Loads of sweets.
Loads of sweets, a beer and a Frankfurter.
At the same time.
All in my mouth. Gargle it.
Party in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those flavours.
Well, you've lost your drinking buddy for this weekend, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. You can help me with the Frankfurters.
I can help you with the Frankfurters. I can take care of the Frankfurters, not sour sweets.
No. Well, I wouldn't share those anyway.
No, you don't share. Ever. And recovery, take a couple of weeks off?
No.
No?
Recovery. Post-race, I've got protein ready. It's going to be a protein shake before I get into the sweets. I'll take a few days off probably. I'll eat loads of food. I might even take the week off. I might go for a jog. I don't know. It won't be 2 weeks off. It won't be any sessions for a while. But I'll just wait until I feel like my whole body's recovered, and that can take a different different amount of time depending on how well you've raced, really. If right at the end, if you've run the fastest you've ever run, it's very likely that your recovery is going to take a bit longer.
Okay. We recover, and then, as our good friend Danny O'Reilly says,
we go again.
Next year.
Yeah, we go again. London next year then.
London. And then.
Well, yeah, I'll do London. I don't know if that'll be the Aegon, but I'll do London.
So you're going to still focus on marathons next year, not short races?
Over this winter, I'll do some cross country.
Yeah.
Maybe the odd 10k race if they pop up. I suppose marathons again. Yeah, there'll be half marathons earlier in the year, and then coming into marathon season in the spring.
Although
I'd like to do some ultras in the summer though.
you're going to have to back off a little bit because I'll be back next year.
Yeah, I know.
So you're going to have to do daddy daycare.
Daddy daycare. Okay.
You know, joint responsibility.
I
for a
understand.
baby.
I understand.
You understand? Do you know how to change a nappy?
Yes. I was changing my own nappy from the age of 3 months.
Of course.
I was a genius child.
Oh, he was genius. All that talent. It's just gone to waste. Think of the career you could have had changing nappies.
All those nappy changes gone to waste.
We could hire you out.
I'm alright.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to cover?
I don't know.
I feel like you've really enjoyed talking about yourself.
I'm hoping, yeah, not really. I hate talking about myself.
It is.
No, I'm hoping that it's helped in some way. If there are any more questions, drop them in the comments and maybe I can.
I might have a
answer them.
couple actually that I haven't covered. Tips for first-time marathoners. I know that's coming.
Well, do the training was a good start.
Yeah.
But just try and relax. Don't go off too hard. You're gonna feel fresh on the beginning of a race, so it's really important that you just go out within yourself and make sure you do your long runs and training.
This is a good question. So how much stretching do you do each week, and how often do you do much strengthening and core work?
Okay, stretching, very little. I stretch to need rather than do a lot of stretching. I do drills. I do a lot of dynamic drills, especially before faster work. I do strides, again, before sessions, after sessions, after some easy runs, and that helps neuromuscular coordination. What's the question? The other bit? Core and strength. Beginning of this block, I was doing a lot more strength work and core work than
Because I made you.
Yeah, because I didn't want to get injured. It's slacked off a little bit towards the end of this block, but I think that I put in a decent foundation which has helped me through the block, and I'll go back to the core and the strength work after this marathon, because I think it's important to be able to withstand the training block. It's very similar. By accident, I didn't know this is how Kipchoge and many of the East Africans, they do a block of conditioning and strength work, and that prepares them then for their main marathon block.
Is that when they do their step aerobics?
Yeah, I don't do step aerobic. Maybe I should.
I think you should, in a Leo's fashion.
I think it'd look great.
Yeah, you would. Rocket at the moment. Light and fast. Do you feel light and fast?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
Good.
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll what?
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice! No, it'd be good. It'd be a good weekend, won't it?
Yeah.
And proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. So, now what? Track me, I guess. Track me. See if any of what I've said makes sense, and if I actually follow that plan. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow, all that malarkey.
All that jazz.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck anyone else that's racing Frankfurt.